Good evening. Today is Monday, April 19th, 2021, and this special meeting of the Board of Education of Romulus Community Schools is called to order at 6:06 PM. Ms. Wester, will you do roll call, please? I'm sorry? Roll call, please.
Evans,
Present.
Beard,
Present.
Terrell. Terrell,
Present. Present.
Kennard,
Here.
Wester present, Piles,
Present. And Ms. Kennard and Ms. Terrell, just for the record, since you are participating virtually, will you please state your location for the record?
Terrell,
Romulus, Michigan, Wayne County.
Kennard. Kennard. Ms. Kennard, we can't hear you.
Romulus, Wayne County, Michigan.
Thank you. We have quorum.
Thank you. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I move that the Board of Education accept the meeting agenda as presented. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Evans. Roll call, please.
Terrell. Terrell,
Yes.
Kennard,
Yes.
Beard,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Wester, yes, Piles.
Yes.
Agenda's accepted.
Mr. Cooper, do we have any public comments? No. Okay. So we are here tonight to conduct applicant interviews for the vacancy on the Board of Education due to the resignation of Mr. Ed Martell. So we will be interviewing 4 candidates tonight. The process will be, we have Mr. Jones, who will go first, and followed by Mr. Heimberger, and then Ms. Zakim and Ms. German. The order was randomly selected by using a wheel, and that is the order. We will take turns as board members, both those present as well as those joining virtually, and we will each ask questions of the candidates. While we are interviewing each candidate, the other 3 will be escorted by Ms. Guzman to another room. We just ask that you do work or whatever, but please don't use your phones. Thank you.
Did you want her to, you want her to take the candidates?
I'm sorry. Yes, we're gonna, Mr. Jones is first, so the other 3,
Ms. Guzman, if you can take the other 3 candidates, Mr. Jones will stay. You can,
Mr. Jones, you can have a seat up here, and there's a copy of questions for the candidates to refer to. Good evening, Mr. Jones. How are you?
Good evening. How are you doing today?
Doing well, thank you. Thank you for your interest in serving as a member of the Board of Education. As we get started, would you please tell us a little bit about yourself? Share why you are interested in serving as a member of the Romulus Community Schools Board of Education, and how are you qualified? And also, please include what equity means to you and how it looks in schools providing high-quality instruction for all students.
First off, I would like to say thank you for the opportunity to be able to come up here and be interviewed. My name is David S. Jones. I was born and raised in Romulus. I graduated from Romulus in 1971. I have 3 children who graduated from Romulus. Out of my 10 grandchildren, I had 3 that graduated from Romulus. I have also served in several different positions. In my church, I'm the chairman of my deacon board. I'm a member of St. John's Lodge number 44, where I'm presently the treasurer of the lodge. I've also been the chairperson of the our annual youth day, and I'm a past worshipful master of the lodge. I'm also a member of the Romulus Drug Task Force, member of Romulus Athletic Boosters. I have coached football at Romulus, JV, middle school, and also have coached Romulus Flyers and was treasurer for about 5 years from that. I believe that my experience in life and the values that I have has helped me qualify and my experiences to become a open-minded and a positive contribution to the board, teachers, and the students. In my activities and stuff, I've learned to associate and deal with, pick up the values that we need for our students and stuff, and the school and the community, because the school has to be a qualified school, because if not, your community goes down.
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Yes,
In the scoring, are we using a range?
1 to 5, sorry, the typical, yes.
I just wanted to verify.
Ms. Kennard and Ms. Terrell, did you hear the standard 1 to 5 for the range in scoring? Excuse us.
I apologize, I did not hear the range, 1 to 5, 1 meaning,
Low to high.
Low to high.
okay.
Excuse us, Mr. Jones, you can. Okay, Ms. Evetts?
Hello, Mr. Jones.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm Trustee Evetts. Nice to meet you. What is the role of the Board of Education, and what is the role of an individual member?
The role of the Board of Education is to govern and more or less supervise the Romulus Community Schools, the administration part of it. The individual members are part of that body which, and come together to help make these decisions to help benefit the school system.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Mr. Jones. I'm Teresa Beard. My question is, what do you see as opportunities and challenges in the district?
Opportunity is to keep our school system an accredited and qualified school system in the education and also in athletics, which also help draw people to the community, help the community, the school grow. And what was the other part of the question?
What do you see as opportunities and challenges?
The opportunity is for me to become part and to help with this growth of the school district. To me, from my being part of Romulus, it's a very good school district, good quality school district. The opportunity for me to be here to help it out is something which is very important to me. And the opportunity of doing that, and for what I have learned in my life living, gives me the understanding and to be able to make a good decision that's going to help benefit the district.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Jones.
Good evening.
Please share your opinion of Romulus Community Schools.
Romulus Community Schools is a school that very diverse, the potential to be just awesome. I know of a lot of very successful students that came through Romulus. In my dealings with the school, we do have good qualified teachers and administration within the system. And we have all the activities and physical structural stuff that we need. It's just us getting together and making it continue to be successful.
Thank you.
Ms. Terrell?
I have question number 5. Working effectively with other school board members and superintendent requires skill and communication and decision-making. How do you see yourself working with other members of the leadership team? What is your vision for education in this community?
In working with others, I think that me being a people person that I am, I don't see where I would have a problem working with others because I'm the kind of person, I don't care where a good idea come from. If it's beneficial for the community, that's what we'll go with. That's what's best for the community. You have to be able to accept other one's ideas and we put them together, and then you come up with the best. You put all options out there. And working with the superintendent and stuff, you always have a head, and you have to give that position respect. We got to be able to stand, if it's right and it's best for this district, you got to stand strong up in your position. I see myself working with other members and leaders. I don't see that to be a problem, because first thing we have to do, once we respect everyone, because you have to give respect to receive respect. And my vision for the education of our community, I see us growing from my dealings with the school. I see there's a lot of potential. Yes, we have new administration, so you enhance the new administration as we grow together to help make it grow.
Okay, this is Judy Kennard, Bigman Jones. In question number 6, it's a 2-part question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, all right. In your view, what has the district done well over the last 5 years? And the next part to the question is, what has the district done poorly that you would change?
In doing well in the last 5 years, I've seen the district grow in different things as far as helping nurture the kids, the students, to a quality education. I've seen them become a bigger part of kids growing together with values. A lot of the administration that I've met, that I know of, are concerned with concerned for the kids, and have that love for the kids. I've seen us, a lot of the academics grow because of the system is working to help children. So, in our athletics and stuff, everything ebbs and flows. So we're building that up. We're in the process of building all of that up and bringing more people back to the community with the physical makeup that you're doing on the school right now. That's a good sign, because everything must grow and change. One thing I would would like to see improve is us drawing the kids, more students to Romulus. Our population has dropped down considerably in the last 5 years. You know, when we had the different schools, we have had to close schools because of the population of the schools. So we have to come up with something to help bring students back to our community, where people will want to come to Romulus, because you got to have a school, good school system to draw people. And we just as good as any other school district in this area.
Thank you. Describe your view of student success. What do you think are the most important skills for students to have when they graduate?
My view of students' success, academics is great, we need, you know, but values is one of the main things that we need to help us grow and our students to become good citizens for the community and our country. Students for success, when we teach them values and we give them the proper education, they can grow in understanding to help them understand things such as you're not always right. You have to endeavor if you want to succeed. Nothing comes right, is dropped in your lap. Anything worth having is worth working for. What do I think are the most important skills for a student to have when they graduate? The desire and the values of learning. I remember my dad used to say, the day you don't learn something was the day that you died. So we have to teach them to always want to be able to learn something so they can grow. And understanding the importance of higher education. You might not go to University of Michigan, you might go to a trade school. Anything you do, you need to educate yourself to help you grow.
Hi, this is Ms. Evans. When voting on issues, will you maintain a strong focus on student outcomes? And if so, what factors should be considered when making decisions?
When voting on issues, we have to be strong for what's right for the students, because that's what it's about. When we lose our focus on the students and not having concern about the outcome of that, we're defeating the whole purpose of being here. The factors of making the decision, just like I just said, you have to make a decision what's going to be the best, not just for right now. We have to make decisions also for long term. A quick fix is not always the right answer. You know, instant gratification, sometimes it's a long-term investment, which is what's going to benefit in the long run.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Jones, I have number 9. How would you handle a situation where a parent contacted you as a board member to discuss a problem with his or her child who was having, okay, I'm sorry, let me do this again. How would you handle a situation where a parent contacted you as a board member to discuss a problem his or her child was having with a teacher or an administrator?
Well, the first thing I would do, get the facts, and first we would go through the proper protocol, along with getting all the facts to be able to make a proper decision on that problem, because we have to get the understanding of what the problem is and the proper protocol. If it's been, the problem has been taken to the principal, administration, HR, whatever, we have to make sure it's going through the proper protocol and get all the facts. We won't be able to assume anything.
Number 10. Describe the relationship between the Board of Education and the superintendent. Include anything you know or believe to know about the roles and responsibilities of each.
The board and the superintendent is the head of the school system. The board is more or less like his, somewhat you could say, advisors or staff, and it's a thing of respecting each other and working together. No one has all the knowledge or all the answers. But to work with the superintendent, we have to be able to work with the person that's in that position of anything, whether it's a superintendent, president, or whatever. Just like in my church, I have to work with my pastor because he's in that position. But that doesn't make, everything they do is right. We have to be able to sit down and communicate to get an understanding. So at the end of the day, a lot of times what it boils down to, we agree to disagree in some cases. But the bottom line still comes down to the benefit of the students and the community. And each party, the board members and the superintendent, the roles are to be able to deal with the situations, build a system, and come to a good, solid agreement to help with the community. I don't care what it is. We have to come up with the best for the situation with the students, with the board member, and the superintendent. Our responsibilities, is educating ourselves, going to whatever it takes to the seminars, the classes, or whatever to help educate ourselves to make those decisions. We got to be, as the students need to learn every day, we'll be learning.
Number 11. How do you view the relationship between the Board of Education with the administration, building principals, and teachers?
The board members and the teachers should be able to communicate and come together on particular issues. Going through the proper process and understanding everyone's role. The teachers are there going to be with the students all the time. Board members in certain situations is on the outside looking in. We have to have a relationship with each other to help be able to make the right best decisions for the particular schools. Teachers are more or less the backbone. They hands-on with the students. And we got to be able to communicate with each other through the proper channels and everything to be able to come up with the best solutions and be able to work with each other. Right now, I can't say totally how the board and administration is exactly, but I've heard some plus and negatives, like anything else.
Okay, number 12. can you make hard decisions even though it may not be popular? Give an example of a time that you had to compromise to achieve a greater cause. If you were faced with a tough issue as a board member, such as raising taxes, cutting staff, eliminating programs, what kind of data would you need to help you make your decision?
Being able to make a tough decision like that, when I was working doing construction, there was a lot of times we ran across situations where we had to make a decision where it was not always like the popular decision. Sometimes it was part of somebody going home or somebody losing their job. But sometimes you have to make that decision to, this is best for the situation at hand. In the long term, sometimes it's just gonna hurt. But you gotta make that positive decision and stand by it. If it's the right decision, you have to stand by it, even though one of your best friends might be upset with you. You have to stand behind, and this is the way it is. Organizations I've been in, for example, at my church, if we make a decision, even though I'm the chair, and the decision is to go one way, if the members doesn't like it, if it's the best for the organization, I have to stand with it. You know, I can't back down. I got to just go with it. And as far as cutting staff, raising taxes, we got to look at the numbers. We got to look how things are going. If you have to cut staff, we have to look at the issues, the finances, the numbers. The numbers don't lie. So we have to look at it and look at the positive way of taking this situation and making the best out of it. If we have to lay a couple of members off, how are we going to accommodate and whether you get cut down, if you have to cut back teachers and you still got the same amount of students, first we got to consider how we're going to do it. Are we going to overload the classes? Before I can make that decision, we have to get all the numbers to make the best decision and listen to all the ideas that's going to come at us within the Booth School Board.
We are on number 13. Mr. Jones, describe your understanding of the difference, if any, between governing the district and running it.
Governing the district is more or less you more or less making decisions to help administration deals that's out that you bring to the ones like the principals and the administration staff, the school, to help out. Running it, the principal more or less runs the school. You know, he's hands-on. The administration help bring things to the table to help help governing help to run the schools. To me, they're almost similar.
You want a cigarette?
Mm-hmm. You can have one at the
Denise-
Terrell,
Denisa,
Ms. Terrell,
Ms.
you're
Terrell,
not
can you mute-
muted.
can you mute? Ms. Terrell, thank you. Sorry, Mr. Jones.
Okay, number 14. After review and discussion on significant issues, the board operates by a majority vote. When the majority vote is different from your position, how would you manage the situation?
As I had said earlier, that's one I would just you have to work with it because the majority, in our country, the majority wins. And to keep our organization together, if the majority votes one way, I cannot go out bad-mouthing them because they voted some way different than I have agreed to, that I was looking at. So for me to do that, I would not be doing the organization any good. If the majority votes on something, and that's what it is, I got to support that. It's not, well, they voted on that, it's that this is what we decided as a board.
Thank you.
Okay, we're at number 15, Mr. Jones. Are you willing to participate in board certification classes through Michigan Association of School Boards? You may have heard it from us referred to as MASB. And pursue the skills, knowledge, and training necessary to become a fully functioning and effective board member. And then provide any examples of how you might accomplish this.
To better myself, to be better qualified for the job, it is definite that you have to go and educate yourself and prepare yourself for a job, to perform properly, because as things go on and things change, you must keep yourself educated and knowing proper procedures. As many seminars as you go to, you learn the different things so you can bring it back to enhance. Now, if we all go to the same seminar, we all might get something different. So we have to continue to go to help ourselves grow. As far as me being willing, oh, yes. An example how I might accomplish this, doing personal research on how I can pick up different things, learn different things. I would have to go online, or if different administration things that I found out that's going on, I have to get myself out there to pursue it so I can learn. There's a lot of individual work I would have to do.
Okay, thank you.
Number 16, at times, board members are caught between legitimately opposing points of view. If there is a difference between your personal point of view and the policy or law that you're required to uphold as a trustee, how will you handle this?
We know that a lot of things that we do, we know that a lot of times it was the law, but it's not right. It's a hard thing you have to sit down and consider. Sometimes it's hard to give a direct answer on that because every situation is going to be different. That's when your values and everything will come in place. I can't say that I would jump up and say, no, this is how I feel and that's the way it is. I don't care what the law is. I can't say that because every situation is going to be different. Yes, we have to consider the law. That's why we have the laws. But legitimacy, we have to weigh our values out in a lot of it.
Thank you.
Number 17, board service requires quite a bit of time. How does your family view your potential involvement on the board? And how will it fit with your existing personal professional commitments?
My involvement, my family has no problem with it. Like I say, all my kids, they have graduated from school, have their own kids. My wife, she was excited about it. My personal time, me being a retired construction worker, my time is basically how I said it. But I know anything you get into, you know, you're always going to be doing something. So it's up to you to choose what's something you're going to do. And I'm on the board, I know I decide this is what I want to do. So something else I would have been doing instead, I have to let it slide. But I would set my schedule too. This is part of my schedule now. It's not, you know, it's nothing else. You know, fellas, I can't do this. I have this to do. This is what I choose to do. You know, got to do something for the board on Saturday. Fellas, we can't go play golf today.
You're so good.
I know some people that wouldn't do that.
Okay, number 18. The Board of Education has one employee. Therefore, can you hold the superintendent accountable for student success and staff performance? How would you accomplish it?
Can I hold the superintendent accountable for student success? The superintendent being the overhead and in charge over the board, top and seat in the board, and like you said, paid, it's more or less his responsibility to double check and see how everything is going. Is it an easy job? No. How can you hold him accountable? Yeah, I believe he is accountable to an extent. Because when certain things come up, he have to also, this is not best what's for the school. He has accountability of what happens in the district. The staff performance, things are not going right, the superintendent's going to have to stay up on and find out what's going on and be able to bring the board together. Let's say, what can we do? Or these are my suggestions to do. And it's going to be one of them community communication things that we're going to have to do and stay in communication with the superintendent. So certain things just don't get out of hand. Because everything we do, we have to start off right and nip it in the bud to keep it under control.
Thank you. And the last question is, how can a board know if its goals are being accomplished and its policies carried out?
Part of that is going to be you got to be able to get out and communicate and know what's going on within your district, within the schools. You have to listen and learn. We'll sit back and we'll watch how things are going. We start looking at the numbers again. Look at graduation time. How many kids are graduating? What's those GPAs? How many scholarships are our students getting? We have to get out and see. We just can't sit back and, well, we come to the meeting, after the meeting, that's it. We have to make an effort to know what's going on within our community.
Thank you very much. And thank you again for your interest and for being part of this interview process with us. We've sat here and asked you 19 questions. Do you have any for us?
When I was at home, I was thinking of 1,000 of them. Well, my thing is, my question is about how we coming together, jumping in, you know, us as a board member, just getting together to, do you have like where you just like brainstorm times where you could just sit and discuss things that help benefit the school, the district, and do you send out, have different seminars that the board members go to help improve their skills?
Yes, so we have our 2 regular meetings a month on the second and fourth Mondays every month. And then we will sometimes schedule study sessions if there's an upcoming decision and we need to gather information and be more informed on something that, like an issue that we need information, we'll come together for that. We do a lot of workshops where we might have someone from the outside come in and train us on a topic. MASB, as Ms. Beard mentioned, the Michigan Association of School Boards holds an annual conference. They hold institutes, and they have been a valuable source of learning for all of us.
There's 2, I think there's 2 MESB, because there's one that's coming up here in April.
Right, so they have the annual conference in November. They also have a spring institute that we just had last weekend. There's a summer institute, and then there's also a winter institute that's in February. But then there's also other opportunities where they'll hold workshops on certain topics throughout the calendar year. And RISA also offers professional development that we can take advantage of.
And another question I have, we have a school board election coming up. What's the process of helping educate people to understand the value of a school board millage? Because in 2021, we cannot survive on 1921 revenues.
That's right. We are getting the message out of exactly what the money is for. Because sometimes there is a blurring of what the city puts out versus what the school district puts out. And then there's the county enhancement versus the city operating. So what we are doing on May 4th is, on the ballot, is our operating millage. And that covers our operating expenses, our salaries, which are a significant portion of our operating expenses, our utilities, our supplies. And so a lot of it is us talking to people in the community, or when they have questions, or when there's misinformation going out, being able to clearly state what it is, and then ultimately being faithful stewards of the monies entrusted to us and using it wisely and effectively, and always being transparent with our community as to how that's being spent.
Okay. Is it?
Well, thank you very much, Mr.
you, Mr.
Jones.
Thank you for your
Thank you
interest.
for allowing me to have this opportunity.
So, board members tally your individual scores, and then Paula will get them. And, I'm sorry? Does he leave? No, you can either go in the room if you want to step outside, or whatever you want to do, you can stay, you can, I guess, you can stay in here, you can take a break. We've got to interview 3 more candidates, so whatever you are comfortable with.
So once they're in, because I wasn't here. Yep.
Look at me, I came here so full of.
Right. So once they're interviewed, do they stay in or do they go out?
Normally, we didn't allow them to go back in with the other candidates.
Right, because they can talk about, right.
They could sit in here, or they could wait outside.
Would somebody go back and give them a tip?
Well, you never know.
You never know.
Right. I think we were told we either stayed here or we left.
Okay.
So the next person,
Do we turn these into Paula now?
Yes, Mr. Heinberger. Oh, yeah, we're ready.
Wait a minute, wait a minute.
Wait. We've got to turn these into you first.
they put that yellow there just for me. 'Cause I'd be the one to trip.
Yes, I know the feeling.
Okay.
You can go check my math.
I don't know if hopefully Paula could react.
Are they going to screenshot their sheet to them, Debbie? They should take
They
a
could
picture of it?
email them
Yes.
maybe to her.
Um,
Do you have a way to
Mi-
get them, Paula?
Ms. Terrell, And Ms. Kennard, will you please,
Yes.
please either email or text me your sheets, please, after you tally them? And we'll get them to Paula. Yes, please.
Okay, was that Debbie asking for that?
Yes,
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 Okay, so you want us to send you the total that?
yes, send your sheet
that we-
with the individual scores. If, I don't know if you're writing on one of these or if you just have your own paper, just take a picture of it and then either email it or text it to me, please.
Okay.
why don't they just email it to?
Yes, Mr. Heinberger.
For them to email it straight to Paula.
well, it should go through Debbie, though, or it should go through us as a whole.
Ms. Kennard, Ms. Terrell. Your mics are live.
You mute your mic?
Could you mute? Thanks. Judy? Judy? Ms.
Judy, can you
Kennard,
mic
your mic,
off? Thank you.
and Mr. Heinberger is next. Hello, Mr. Heinberger. Oh, did we get the questions?
Oh, he took them,
Okay.
so we need to get them.
wouldn't want to pass them out anyway.
No, but I still wanted to collect.
Hey, Paula? Can you go out and get the questions from Mr. Jones? He kept them in his folder.
Sometimes we're on it.
Oh, he went back into the room, too.
Did he?
We need to, you want me to go tell her? Or,
Good evening, Mr. Heinberger.
Good evening.
We have a series of 19 questions, and each board member will take turns asking you. The good news is we'll ask them one at a time, so. It's,
It's
I
like
know, I
taking an
saw-
oral exam
I
here,
saw you
okay?
looking at the paper, and it's. So, first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself. Share why you are interested in serving as a member of the Romulus Community Schools Board of Education and how you are qualified. Please include what equity means to you and how it looks in schools providing high-quality instruction for all students.
Okay, thank you. My name is Tony Heimberger. I live here in Romulus. I've been here for over 35 years in the community. My father-in-law retired from the Romulus School District back in 1978 or 79. Don't quote me on that one, though, for sure. I'm interested in the Romulus Board because it's our future in our community and in our state. And we need to start securing our future. We really do at this point. These are the kids that are gonna take care of us when we are older. So we really need to make sure that we got them all ready to go. How am I qualified? I've done many different activities in my life. I was the co-founder of RECAP back in the 90s to stop the injection well. I do a lot of different things with the cities, well, our city here in Romulus. I do not sit on any boards or commissions because it just makes it easier to say, I don't like this, or I do like this. I do the flowers downtown each year in the big planters. A friend of mine go in, her and I do it, we do it, and we don't ask the city for anything. We want our downtown to look nice. Hopefully we can get it to come back, and that's what I keep pushing for, but that's a whole nother story in itself. Equity. Equity is our students, I feel. They're the ones that are gonna make our district. They're the ones we need to support to get our district going. That's who we need to teach. That's who we need to have stay in our community, to have their children come back to our schools. That way we always have an endless supply of children, so we can be teaching them. We need our kids to stay here, learn here, live here.
the role of an individual member?
The role of the Board of Education is to oversee our superintendent, who in turn oversees other people. They also make sure that our funding's going correctly, that everything's going good. We are spending the money where it needs to be spent, and so on. It's basically check and balance. So no one entity has too much power, so that way, it's like any branch of government. You gotta have the checks and balances. The school board's here for checks and balances to watch over everything as a whole, and then get information, vote, so on. The role of an individual member, this is maybe where I may differ a little bit, is to ask questions. Not every board member is always gonna agree on any one single thing. But that's when you sit with the board and you do the pros and the cons on each individual item and say, is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? And you talk about it and work it out so everybody feels comfortable on what's voted on and how it's being taken care of.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Mr. Hagberger, I'm Teresa Beard.
Hello.
And I have your third question. Sorry about that, my mic was off. Okay, I have the third question. What do you see as opportunities and challenges in this district?
Our opportunities is we have room for growth. What do I mean by growth? I do know several people in our town, and unfortunately, they won't send their kids to our schools. And I've asked them why. Those are the things I want to bring to the board to fix. I want those kids that live in Romulus to go to Romulus schools. That's one of the opportunities I want to see is getting fixed is that item, so our children are coming here. We have the great opportunity, I feel, and this may not be the place to put it, but to bring vocational education back to our schools. Everybody may not agree with the way I say this, and I apologize in advance. I feel like I'm leaving the two over here out, just because I'm not looking. Unfortunately, not every child is gonna go to college. It's a simple fact, not every kid's gonna be able to go to college. With vocational training, these kids could go out and get a little bit better job than working at McDonald's. If we have building, electrical, plumbing, give them the basics so they have someplace to start as a journeyman or woman and continue on. Even, I was looking up something tonight, you can get classes in the high school for EMT. It's something that we could start and give the kids an opportunity to advance forward faster. Oh, our challenges. Making sure our kids go here, that's number one. Number two, every district has financial issues. We all know it. It's a fact of life. Every city does. So we just need to watch what we are spending, where we are spending, how are we spending, making sure we are getting the best prices for everything that we can, to make sure we have the funding for different items that we can use it for.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Mr. Heinberger.
Hello.
Thanks for coming. Please share your opinion of Romulus Community Schools.
Romulus Community Schools have been a school district for a very long time, down to the little red schoolhouses, when there was 6 of them. We're talking many, many years ago. Romulus is a good place. If we want to our city to succeed, we need the schools to succeed. It goes hand in hand. Our schools are very, very good. I mean, yeah, they could be better. We used to be blue ribbon schools. We need to go back to blue ribbon schools. What are we doing to get it back to that area? We have a lot of smart people here that have the opportunity to make our schools even better than what they are right now. And that's a goal of mine, to see it get a lot better. Let's get back to being blue ribbon schools. That will draw more kids to our area. more kids to our district.
Thank you.
Ms. Cornell here. On number 5, working effectively with other school board members and the superintendent required skills in communication and decision-making. How do you see yourself with other members of the leadership team? And what is your vision of education for this community?
Thank you. Once again, it goes back to working together. If there is an issue, the pros and cons. That is the best way of resolving any issue there is. If one says yes, one says no, give the reasons. Explain out the reasons how you feel the way you feel. And then you compromise. You work together and make it work. As far as visions for education, as I said earlier, the vocational, schooling, so on, get more of our children back here to our school district. That's what we need. We need to have more opportunities for our kids after the school year is done, when they graduate, so on, so et cetera, to have them ready to go out into the workforce or to college. I've kind of answered some of these out of order, I think. Oops, sorry.
Question number 6, this is Ms. Kennard.
Yes, ma'am.
In your view, what has the district done well over the last 5 years? And the second part is, what has the district done poorly that you would change?
Good question. This is mean. The district has always been there for the students. I'm never going to deny that to the school district. They've always been here for the kids, which is a plus. I would like to see more for the kids, but they've always been here. As far as poorly, I mean, off the top of my head, just, how would I say this? Some of the things I've heard that's went on with past superintendents, past employees, that type of stuff, that's the bad part of our Romulus schools. And if we can keep it at that, I'm quite happy. If we can keep with the good, I'm even more happy.
Describe your view of student success. What do you think are the most important skills for students to have when they graduate?
Success would be them to go to college. On a scholarship would be great, but there's not enough of those out there. That would be a major plus. The other success would be as a student being already prepared for some type of job that they could go into if they could not go to college. Once again, vocational training. I mean, it's just common sense. We want these kids to succeed in everything they do. Some of the most important skills for students, making sure they know how to read and write. I'm sorry to say, there are some kids that get through the system that somehow went through the system without it. But make sure they know what they're doing when they leave our schools. I don't want any student ever to come back and say, well, Romulus never did me anything. No, we don't want that. Hey, Romulus is the best school to go to. This is where I want to send my kids, is my thoughts.
Okay, number 8. When voting on issues, will you maintain a strong focus on student outcomes? What factors should be considered when making decisions?
When it comes to voting on issues, students are number one. The factors after that fact, is it in our budget? Do we have the money? Can we cut somewhere else if we cannot afford it so our students can have the best that they can get? Because we want them to have the best. question to really answer because it's just not enough specifics, but the kids have to be number one here. And then it goes from there on down. But we just need to make sure we have the money to pay for the items and then go from there. If we have to cut somewhere, a little here and a little here, okay, we can do it. It's all called compromise.
I have number 9, and that question would be, how would you handle a situation where a parent contacted you as a board member to discuss a problem his or her child was having with a teacher or an administrator?
There would be, if it's a teacher, I would ask for the parent to contact the principal of the school where the child goes. If they do not want to meet with the principal alone, okay, we will find somebody to go with you to meet with the principal if you don't feel like doing it alone. If it's someone in the administration, superintendent, they would have to come to the board, where at that point, the president of the board should be contacted and say, hey, we have a problem, contact them, come in, meet with us, let's see what's going on, and let's fix it.
Sorry. Number 10, describe the relationship between the Board of Education and the superintendent. Include anything you know or believe to know about the roles and responsibilities of each.
The Board of Education is the one that hires and can fire the superintendent. They are, in a sense, the CEO. The superintendent handles a lot of the other stuff and deals with the day-to-day stuff with the principals, the administration, so on, so et cetera. There's several reports I know the superintendent has to give the board. One off the top of my head. The bullying, under policies and procedures for the board, the superintendent has to give that annually to the board. I personally think it should be monthly, but right now it's annually. That's one thing. He checks out and does different things. He has up to a $10,000 spending limit to spend on things before coming to the board or letting it out for bid. The board just oversees everything in a sense that he's doing just to make sure everything's going properly, like the checks and balances I talked about earlier.
Thank you.
Okay, number 11. How do you view the relationship between the Board of Education with the administration, including principals and teachers?
Once again, the superintendent would be over the principals. It's, in a roundabout, the chain of command is what I would follow, is how it's set up as the chain of command. If a principal is having a problem with the superintendent, yeah, that principal should come to the board. Because he really can't go, he or she cannot go to the superintendent. They would come to the board and so on. But you have to follow the chain of command, otherwise things get kind of messy.
Question number 12. Can you make hard decisions even though it may not be popular? Give an example of a time that you had to compromise to achieve a greater cause. If you were faced with a tough issue as a board member, such as raising taxes, cutting staff, eliminating programs, what kind of data would you need to help you make your decision?
Making a hard decision is never popular by any means, but it has to be done. That's why there is a board. It has to be done. A time personally where I had to decide to make a hard decision, since I have not sat on the board, is when I left the assisted living where I was the director of dietary. I was done, I was retiring. They wanted me to stay. It's like, no, it's time for me to retire. I have to go. And which, you make a lot of friends with the residents of that type of community. So it makes it difficult because then you don't get to see them anymore because you see them every day, but that's a whole other story. So it gets difficult. As far as being, the data that I would need. Okay. Have we looked at all options? Everything where we could cut back a little bit for raising taxes or cutting staff or any of that stuff? Do we have anything sitting out there that, hey, this can wait maybe 6 months before we have to do it and we can use the money there? Or do we have to raise the taxes or cut staff? It would be a by basis each time. I mean, you can't just specifically say, yep, no, I'm doing this. You can't. You have to look at everything in general at that time and where the district stands.
Number 13, describe your understanding of the difference, if any, between governing the district and running it.
In a political view, governing, you're overseeing everything, in a sense. Where running it would be like the superintendent is running and watching and making the decisions, day-to-day decisions. Where the board is not making the day-to-day decisions, it's being brought to them and an oversight type thing. I don't know how else to describe it.
Number 14, after review and discussion of significant issues, the board operates by a majority vote. When the majority vote is different from your position, how would you manage the situation?
The vote is the vote. As long as you've had discussion on a matter, that's the main thing. If you give the pros and cons, you give your feelings, hopefully they've swayed you your way or not. I mean, when you have a vote, majority rules. That's a fact of life.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have number 15. Are you willing to participate in board certification classes through Michigan Association of School Boards, MASB, and pursue the skills, knowledge, and training necessary to become a fully functioning and effective board member, and then provide any examples of how you might accommodate this, or accomplish this, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I would not have a problem doing that. The board members got to be willing to also go back to school, so to speak. With being basically semi-retired, I have times on my hand to take classes, to research stuff, and so on. That's another reason I think I'd be a good fit with the board, because I do have the time to do the research. Because anything that comes in front of the board should always be researched before just voting on it. Research and taking classes and education's never hurt anyone.
Okay, thank you.
Number 16, at times, board members are caught between legitimately opposing points of view. If there is a difference between your personal point of view and the policy or law that you're required to uphold as a trustee, how will you handle this?
If it is already a policy or law, you cannot really say no. That's the big thing. I mean, that's the way it's set. Down the road, if you want to go back.
Jump up
Okay, I didn't know if it was nap time now or what. I mean, come on now. Collect thoughts. At that point, if you think there's gonna be an issue with a policy later on, if the same thing may come up again, you talk to the board and possibly change the policy for later on. But at that time, you have to follow policy and the law.
Thank you.
Number 17, board service requires quite a bit of time. How does your family view your potential involvement on the board? How would it fit your existing personal and professional commitment?
It would not be an issue. With being basically retired, I have some rental homes. It does not take all day. The only thing I might be missing out on is a bag of chips that I might not be able to eat because I'm doing something, which is okay. But it would not be an issue at all. I have the time, and it'd be enjoyable.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, number 18. The Board of Education has one employee. Therefore, can you hold the superintendent accountable for student success and staff performance? How would you accomplish it?
The superintendent is responsible, because we go back to the chain of command. He is over every one of those, let's just call them departments, in a sense. So he needs to make sure, or she needs to make sure, that they're doing their job. If it's a pop-in visit to a classroom to set for 15, 20 minutes just to see how a teacher's doing, you do it. See what's going on in the classrooms and everywhere else throughout the district. Pop in on a principal. Don't tell them you're coming, just pop in. There's always time to double check what somebody is doing. And that's what I feel the superintendent should be doing. One of the things, I mean, I know that they have a lot to do already, but take 5 minutes, 10 minutes out of each day and just pop in and surprise people. And that way we can show the success of our students. Because if the principals aren't giving him the information, then we need to go to the success. And this might be a good place to bring up, well, no, we'll go to the next one. It'll be under the next one. I just read the next question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Heimberger, so how can a board know if its goals are being accomplished and its policies carried out?
If the board's goals are being accomplished. And hopefully no one gets upset by this. Our test scores for our schools need to come up. They have dropped, and it's time to change that. And there's different ways to change that. The board could institute the policy of one way one school district has changed getting test scores up is, example, the principal pops into the teacher's room, stays 10, 15 minutes, just sees what's going on. See if the teacher's teaching. Do the teachers need anything additional? Bring it to the school board if they need additional resources or different books, whatever it is. Do practice exams with them. See where they are falling short. That way, when the test comes, we get better test scores and we can start moving up, which would also help bring more people to our community and more students to our community. Hopefully that answered it.
Thank you, Mr. Heimberger. We have now finished all of the questions that we have for you. Do you have any questions that you would like to ask the board?
Not at this time.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your interest and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so we can get the next person in. Thank you.
And are we ready for the next candidate?
Yes.
And that will be David Zaki. What's that?
Zakim.
Zaki, okay. Turn my hearing aid up a little bit.
Hello, Ms. Zakim.
You guys mind if I take my mask?
No, you can take that off, yes.
Good, 'cause
Yes.
it's gonna be hard
I
to
know,
breathe.
it gets hot and.
Okay.
Mrs. Hakim, thank you so much for joining us tonight, and thank you for your interest in serving on the Romulus Community Schools Board of Education.
Thank you.
We will go around each board member, we'll ask you questions. Let me give you, do you have them there?
I
Are they on the
do.
chair? Okay, so you can refer to that. We will all ask questions in order, and then at the end, you can ask us any questions
Okay,
that you
good.
have, okay?
Good.
Oh, you're ready for that?
I'm
huh?
ready. You know, it's something about third time is a charm.
Okay. Okay, so to get started, tell us a little bit about yourself. Share why you are interested in serving as a member of the Romulus Community Schools Board of Education and how you are qualified. Please include what equity means to you and how it looks in schools providing high-quality instruction for all students.
Okay, that's very good. All right, well, I am Deidra Zakim. I am a retired principal. Let's start with, I am the wife of a pastor. I have 5 children, 3 of which graduated from Romulus schools. I am a retired principal. I've been retired it will be 6 years at the end of this school year. I am a child of poverty, and I am very proud to let you know that because odds were in equity that I would not make it this far, and certainly by the grace I have. And I think probably now schools in this era, students of poverty are called high-risk or at-risk kids, and I was one of those. And school was my safe haven. I loved school because my teachers thought that I was a smart girl, and so I was always very anxious to go to school. I excelled very well, and thus I wanted to be a teacher. And I began playing rock teacher when I was a little girl. You put the rock in your hand, you tap the hand, and my brothers would entertain me and take my candy, but I was the teacher. And I went to Western. I got a scholarship and went to Western in Kalamazoo, became a teacher, and I taught in Detroit for a short while. And then I taught at Cranbrook in West Bloomfield. And I taught, then I became a principal in Detroit. And we moved to Romulus in 1991. That's how I kind of ended up here. And our oldest daughter was going to be going to middle school. And my husband was working afternoons, and I was working until 9 at night in Detroit. Things have changed so much since I began working, in education. And it was either we figure out how we're going to make this work with our children, being home, in the evenings and at night until I got there. Either we would figure it out or the world would take them. So I applied to Romulus and all those surrounding areas, and Taylor, the first principal of color in Taylor. I was also teaching at Wayne County Community College. I can't believe I did all this and raised 5 children, but I did. And back almost 6 years ago, there was a buyout, and they encouraged us to take the buyout, and thus, here I sit. And I am retired from the field of education, however, I work full-time. So, okay, equity is opportunity for all children. It doesn't matter what their capabilities are, because I am an advocate of education, and I believe that everyone can learn, given the opportunity and the resources to get there. So that's kind of pretty much what makes me who I am.
Okay, I'm Sue Evans. What is the role of the Board of Education, and what is the role of an individual member?
Okay, so I believe that the role of the Board of Education is like the spearhead for the school community. They work in conjunction with the superintendent. And the role of every individual, well, I guess when I said we, wow, third time is a charm. I think the role of you guys is to, from wherever your stakeholding, wherever you come from, to bring that interest to the board. Thus, if we all have the same goal of educating children to the very best, I believe that everyone's input would impact that in getting there for the kids, making sure they're educated, because it takes the entire community, which means that's the business entity, that is all the stakeholders of the community to make it work, so.
Thank you.
So to work collectively, yes.
Hi, I'm Teresa Beard.
Hi.
And I have question number 3. What do you see as opportunities and challenges in the district?
Okay, of course, Teresa, you threw me off because I was looking at Denisa.
I know.
But I got you.
The tags are wrong. I can be Denisa tonight.
All right. Of course, the big challenge we know is COVID right now. And I also know, and I'll begin with challenges, is that the funding is dependent upon children coming to school. And I'm a grandparent of children who are in public school, and it's very difficult for them to learn from home. The reality is it's very difficult. It's difficult for the children, it's difficult for the parents, especially those who are in the workforce, trying to educate their kids from a distance and who's going to watch them today. And I told you guys that, I am a child of poverty, and sometimes they may have to be with their aunt at night because mom and dad are working, or perhaps maybe there's just a dad and not a mom. And when we add COVID in the mix, it has been very challenging. And I know that the kids are suffering academically. I already know that. Because the parents, there's no way we can make them responsible for what we've been trained to do. It is just virtually impossible, despite the fact I know they go, they have online schooling, and some kids are phased in throughout the week, that kind of thing. But these are some trying times, and thus, this is very challenging for everyone, students, the community, parents, everyone. Now, the opportunities as a result of this is the kids are so fluent in social media as well as technology, because it's amazing what my 6-year-old granddaughter knows with technology, way more than I do. So I think that's certainly an opportunity for us to use as a springboard for our students to even, become greater, because I think it's an equalizer. And with my experience over this little over a year, I have gone to so many churches in a day, because I can just go online and go to church, or I can go online and shop. Don't tell my husband that. But I never used to do that. And that has truly become an opportunity for everyone, not just the children, but for everyone. And I think our kids are just, because of this, whole business with COVID and how it has changed us forever, our kids are just more capable technologically, you know. So that is certainly an opportunity that we hadn't planned on, but it is.
Good evening,
Good evening.
neighbor.
Yes.
Number 4, please share your opinion of Romulus Community Schools.
Okay, that's a good question. My opinion of Romulus Community Schools, and I think I probably said this in my letter of interest. 3 of my 5 children graduated from Romulus schools. And truly, as parents, we are their first educators. However, I must commend Romulus schools. My 3 who graduated, all of my kids are doing well, but the 3 who graduated, I have to attribute that to also partially to Romulus Community Schools. My youngest daughter graduated from the University of Toledo, and she has her own business now. My middle girl was really tired of, my husband and I telling her what to do, so she joined the Marine Corps. Woo-hoo! And she's doing very well. However, she's a manager for Quicken Loans. And my oldest daughter graduated from Romulus, and she went to Michigan, and she went to Yale, and she went to Harvard. And she has never come back to share that with Romulus schools, and I wish she would. But I am very proud of all of them. However, I did see a transition in Romulus schools. Anytime you go through changes in administration, it changes the culture of the schools. It just does. And that's not a negative, however, it is a reality that it does change the culture. It changes expectations often because people come with their own agenda. And as a board, I think it is the role of the board to unify and support whoever is superintendent in the leadership of the schools. I am very proud to be a Romulus citizen, and even more to say that I have children who came through Romulus schools. My church have kids who go to Romulus schools, and to tell anyone that Romulus schools have done our family and our community very well. So, and it takes all of us to make that happen, not just the school board, not just the superintendent, but the parents, the community, everyone.
Thank you.
Sure.
Hi, Ms. Terrell. I have number 5.
Okay.
Working effectively with other school board members and the superintendent requires skills and communication and decision-making. How do you see yourself working with other members of the leadership team? And what is your vision of education for this community?
Okay. You know, having been in education for over 34 years, and I continue to educate because I teach Sunday school to adults, and my grandchildren, as a matter of fact. The biggest obstacle we have in the workforce is being able to work effectively with the team. And thus, it is very important that we do that. And it's just, society requires us to be open to the ideals of others, as well as, even when you disagree, you can effectively disagree without holding any harsh feelings. And I think it's a learning experience. Me personally, I am very much a communicator, and so it would be very difficult for me not to know how someone feels or what their stance is on an issue, because I'm very active about asking. I want to know what is the vision for us, where are we going to go from here, and how can, you know, my role impact that. And so it is very important, it is critical, it's vital that we work together as a team. So we have to get to know each other in that way. And what is the vision for education in this community? well, one thing I know is, everyone wants the same thing for their kids, whether they make no money or buku money. Everybody wants their kids to be successful. So our role as a community is to make that happen, no matter where they come from, what angle of society they come from, if they're experiencing societal ills or social issues, their families still want the same thing for their children. Thus, our responsibility would be to make the very best case scenario for them to excel in education, and thus to be members of society who are totally contributing, in a positive way.
Thank you.
Number 6, and I'm Ms. Kennard. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Yes. In your view, what has the district done well over the last 5 years? And what has the district done poorly that you would change?
Okay, so what is it, let's start with what has the district done well. I remember, because I was still working when, unfortunately, Inkster schools closed. And this, a portion of the students came to Romulus schools, and I remember that was very, very positive, where it was very, very negative in Taylor. So I certainly commend, it has been very impactful and positive. What has the district done poorly that we could change? I wouldn't say poorly, but I just wish that we were more visible and more vocal in a positive manner about our school district. I know we've gone through a transition, and the big one was when we lost our, society loves to promote negativity because it sells. And I don't mean that literally, but, people are interested in what's going wrong. And I think we should be pushing everything positive about Romulus schools. So I think we can do a better job of that.
Thank you. Number 7, describe your view of student success. What do you think are the most important skills for students to have when they graduate?
Okay, student success to me is becoming a productive citizen. And education has to be impactful. Does that mean they have to necessarily go to a 4-year university? No, it doesn't. Although I'm an advocate of that, but it means to be self-supportive, to be productive, to be a viable citizen that would bring others along. And what do you think is the most important skills for students? Oh, certainly getting along with each other, learning how to work in teams, because COVID has changed it where you might be able to work from home, but the reality is you still work in a team from home. And important skills to have when they graduate. Oh, they have to have a plan of where am I going from here. There has to be a plan. What is my 5-year plan? What is my 3-year plan? What is my 1-year plan? Because when you don't have a plan, you falter. And you find yourself doing things that perhaps you get to be, 35 saying, oh, I should have. So you need to have a plan, a vision and a plan.
Okay, number 8, when voting on issues, will you maintain a strong focus on student outcomes? What factors should be considered when making decisions?
Well, I have a strong focus on student, that is the purpose. Student outcomes is the purpose, absolutely. And what factors should be considered when making decisions? How will this positively impact our school community?
Thank you.
Oh, no.
How would you handle a situation where a parent contacted you as a board member to discuss a problem with his or her child was having with a teacher or an administrator?
Okay. Well, first I would commend them for contacting me, because if they feel like they can, how wonderful. But I would direct them back to the school, because it starts at the school. There is a chain of command, and often people think if I go to the top, but that goes back to working with the team. And it should begin with the teacher, then the administrator, then, there is a process by which change happens, and to just jump the hoops like that, no, that is not acceptable. I would commend them and let them know I support them, and we would go back to the school, and I'd direct them back to the school.
Thank you.
Number 10, describe the relationship between the Board of Education and the superintendent. Include anything you know or believe to know about the roles and the responsibilities of each.
Okay. I believe the superintendent is a spearhead for the school district as far as curriculum and everything inclusive. This body of individuals should work collectively with the superintendent. I don't believe there's a hierarchy. I think there is a union that we come together, and the board oversees that, but work collectively with the superintendent. See, the superintendent should have the background knowledge of education in its entirety, where not necessarily will the board members, but remember, the board is, I believe, are stakeholders in the entire process. And it takes the entire stakeholders as well as the school community to make everything work. So I think you should work collectively, as a body of individuals, not in isolation, but as a body. So,
Thank you.
Number 11, how do you view the relationship between the Board of Education with the administration, monitors, principals, and teachers? Sorry about that.
I have to keep going back to the same thing. The Board of Education is somewhat of a governing body, but the administration, the building principals, the teachers all work collectively. I think it is very imperative that it is known that no one works in isolation. We all work collectively. And I know with my experience, oftentimes the teachers may have felt like they were one body, especially when there are unions involved. And the administrator is another body because unions are involved. And the board is another body because they're like the governing body, and the superintendent is another. But I think it is imperative that that all comes together, that it's fused together. And say, we're gonna do what's best for kids collectively, not in isolation. We're not, feuding and fighting with each other. We are working collectively to educate children. So.
Number 12, can you make hard decisions even though it may not be popular? Give an example of a time that you had to compromise to achieve a greater cause. If you were faced with a tough issue as a board member, such as raising taxes, cutting staff, eliminating programs, what kind of data would you need to help you make your decision?
Okay, so using those examples, raising taxes, cutting staff, eliminating programs. First of all, we have to know what's in the budget, see where is our budget here? And because the budget has to be balanced every year anyway, so we would know. We have to have some factual data to see, okay, to affect and afford change, we can't arbitrarily do it. We have to see numbers. We have to see how it's going to affect our community. We're going to see how it's going to affect how we're educating kids. And surely that's the name of the game. You have to make hard decisions. You have to make hard decisions even though they're not popular. A good example of that is I was a principal in the middle school, and I was accused of racism, that I was a racist because the school community was on the impression that more Caucasian kids were being suspended than African-American kids. So, as a result, I didn't ask them to trust me because I knew the data would be the trust, but to respect me as I got it done. So I did. I had to get the numbers, and I shared the data, and they were surprised to know, and so was I, that there were more African Americans who were suspended than Caucasian. But the reality is, kids who were violating the student code of conduct were suspended based on the steps we were supposed to follow. I didn't look at black or white or blue. I looked at who violated the student code of conduct. So it was eye-opening to everyone. And that was a very difficult decision to make, and it had to be publicized. And it was. However, I asked to be respected and let the data show for itself. And, you know, when you are giving facts rather than opinion, people may not always agree with that, but they must agree with what the facts are. You know, and thus I believe respect is garnered as a result of that, rather than I feel as though this is how my feelings are. But when you have factual information, it's very difficult to combat that. So.
We are at number 13.
Okay.
Describe your understanding of the difference, if any, between governing the district and running it.
Okay. Governing the district is when you have guidelines to follow that must be followed. Running the district is when you feel like you have the power to set precedent without following any rules. And this is a governing body that there are standards and rules that need to be followed. Running is when we feel like we have some superior ability that isn't appropriate. So.
Okay, number 14. After review and discussion on significant issues, the board operates by a majority vote. When the majority vote is different from your position, how would you manage the situation?
You have to go with the majority, whatever the majority is, because that's what the majority means. And I mean, without being disgruntled or anything, you go with the majority rules. That's what the governing body is charged to do. And it doesn't always mean that it would be in what your favor is, but you get on board and you make it happen.
Thank you.
Okay, I have number 15.
Okay.
Are you willing to participate in board certification classes through Michigan Association of School Boards, MASB, and pursue the skills, knowledge, and training necessary to become a fully functioning and effective board member? And then provide any examples of how you might accomplish this. And I'm glad I can read in the dark.
Deidre, I think you missed that. We were all going like this.
Yeah, I think the light's on the timer or something, right? Yeah, I got it. Yeah. Yeah, I know you have to kind of move around, keep them on, yeah. Sure, for sure I would be willing to participate. You know, knowledge is power. And provide examples of how you might accomplish this. First of all, I would be asking a whole bunch of questions, I already know that, on what are my roles and responsibilities, and from you guys, because I would certainly want to establish a rapport with you. And then I'm pretty sure there are retreats and things like that where we would be responsible for going to as well. So, and I need all the literature to find out exactly where I'm going with this, because I'm an avid reader, so I know I would want to do that. But to establish a relationship with the board and find out what my role is, and read all the literature I need to, go to the retreats, learn everything there is, as well as talk to other boards. Yeah, read up on it, sure.
Number 16. At times, board members are caught between legitimately opposing points of view. If there is a difference between your personal point of view and the policy or law that you're required to uphold as a trustee, how will you handle this?
Well, I think the key word there is law. There are not options with laws. You follow the laws, and even if it's in opposition, I think that it is certainly productive to, you can let the board know, this is my viewpoint. That doesn't mean that it would be the one governing, you know, because you follow the law. That's why we have laws, so, and that's okay. I think that is a part of establishing relationships, to know, well, Susan felt this way, or Teresa felt this way, or Ursula felt this way. This was their viewpoint. I think that's productive, but if there's a law, we must abide by the laws. So we'll follow the law.
Thank you.
A 17. The board service requires quite a bit of time. How does your family view your potential involvement on the board? How would it fit with your existing personal and professional commitment?
That's a good question. For such a time as this, it would not have fit in my life plan any other time other than right now. Now is the time, because I had, you know, commitments with children, and despite my husband is a pastor, my husband is very supportive, because he said, Deidre, we're going to pray on this. I was like, we probably should pray on it, you know, prior to my making the decision. And, you know, I was led certainly through prayer, but I do realize that this is a commitment. And just as, I'm going to give you guys an example, when my daughter wanted to play soccer, and she went, oh my goodness, there's so much running in this. I never thought I was have to run so much. I don't know if I want to see this thing through. I said, you don't have an option, dear. Once you start it, you will commit fully, and you will finish it. That is the mindset I have. I'm going to come in hard charging. I am committed. Otherwise, I would not have. And I know that it's more than, you know, you visit schools. Remember, I came from this background. You have meetings. They may go longer. They may go into the night. I do realize, and I am committed, 100% committed. And the wonderful thing is I have a very supportive family as well. So.
Question number 18. The Board of Education has only one employee. Therefore, can you hold the superintendent accountable for student success and staff performance? How would you accomplish it?
Okay, so I do realize the superintendent, he has a plan that he must follow. And in that, because I'm sure when he was hired, he had to come with a plan of accomplishment. This is what I plan to do in 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, however long his what word am I looking for? Contract says. And that, there's a rubric there to say you must do this, that, and the other. He knows that, we would know that, and we have to hold them to that. Now, working with humans, it doesn't always, you may not always get to the top, but he has to be making improvements. And that's why there are rubrics. There are standards that must be followed. There are rubrics, which I'm sure you guys are using one right now, some form of a rubric too, you know? And so in that is not just pie in the sky, but yes, there are standards and benchmarks that he would have to make, and absolutely. That's how I made it to where I am. You know, absolutely, he has to be held accountable for affording change across the board, you know, with the students, with the teachers, with the entire, that's why he's superintendent. Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Last question. How can you know, or how can a board know if its goals are being accomplished and its policies carried out?
How can a board know? Well, the board should have access to all of that information, and the superintendent is responsible for bringing that information. So, its goals, I'm sorry, its goals, I thought it was school. Yeah, I guess that's pretty much collectively the same. Just as the superintendent has benchmarks, we are responsible for making sure that those are happening. In that, we'll have benchmarks that we should be meeting with the superintendent as well. So it won't be just like a one-time shot, but throughout the year, we will have to visit that over and over and over and over to be sure that those benchmarks are being met. So, and in that, if they're not, then we have, you know, a job to do, so, to ensure that that is happening.
This completes all the questions that we have for you.
Okay.
Do you have any that you would like to ask of us?
I do. You know what, I was very surprised. I am a elector who votes absentee, and I do realize that this election that's coming up in May will have the non-homestead. We're trying to get it back up to 18 meals. And I was just surprised that it hasn't been promoted. It hasn't been in the media the way I would think that it would be, because it's critical that we do get back to 18 meals, because it impacts our kids by thousands of dollars. And I knew because of my background. But I just haven't seen lots of literature, and my question is, what happened with that? Because a lot of people don't understand that process, and I do because of where I come from. And of course, I have been, like in my church, spreading the word that we have to vote yes, we have to get that back up. It is, you know, and I explained what it was, that these are non-homestead people. And that's very difficult for someone who doesn't know the process. But I just haven't seen it promoted in the way I thought it would be. And so my question is, where are we with that?
Well, we've done, our superintendent has done some videos that are put out on our district website, on our Facebook, and shared throughout the district. We also have had a literature postcard go out to all the absentee voters. I don't know if you received that. The other thing is we were given literature that we can hand out. It's been, and COVID makes it difficult, because normally we would be going out, we would be talking about it, even with, as we're focusing on going virtual and in person at the same time. So a lot of things where, you know, our focus was there, and but yeah, I mean, not that it's an excuse, but COVID has really presented different challenges where we weren't able to get out in our community, where we weren't able, but we are utilizing the district website. We're utilizing social media. We're trying to engage more and encouraging people to, any questions we answer, but then encouraging them and letting them know that our superintendent is always available by phone, or he'll meet with groups, and just trying to connect with people and give factual information.
Right.
So that we can tear down any misconceptions, any, falsehoods, but yeah, it's a crucial
is.
millage.
It
I mean, we have to have that millage. Our students need that. We just
Absolutely.
cannot look at them and say, we're cutting a third of our operating
Absolutely.
budget. That's not an option.
So, I do realize Romulus doesn't have a community paper, Romulus City. And so that's something I probably need to take certainly not to the school board, but the city council. That's exactly right. The city council, because it should be all over, everywhere, you know? I remember Proposal A from 1994. We literally went from house to house to get that to happen, because I was, principal then. And we were going from house, and I know that COVID has changed everything, but there needs to be,
Yes.
signs up everywhere. Yeah.
We just got the sign.
Oh, very
so-
good.
We're going to
Very
make
good.
sure you have one to take home.
Okay, very good.
Yes,
Very good.
or two.
Very good.
And it's in the
Okay,
top
because
four. I
I'm
was
thinking,
gonna
oh my
vote
God, I know it's a lot.
Yes.
Because I've studied, fund balances and all that, and so I kind of know how it works, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm waiting. So that's good, that's good. I have a background in all of that, I guess probably that was my biggest thing was making sure that we promote that non-Homestead millage. I know also that, it says something about like renew, restore, the 3 Rs. And it is vital that passes. And oftentimes, because back when we had the recession, like 2010, 2011, I know it was voted, everybody voted everything down. And we're in a different era right now, but I'll take a sign. I'll take a sign. I'll do whatever I have to do to make that happen, because I've been sharing with, everyone I meet saying, look, we have to make sure we vote on that. And the unfortunate part is many seniors believe, well, I don't have any kids in school. I don't have any kids in school. I'm going to vote it down. So I'm like waving the flag. We must make this happen. So, okay, so I will go to the city council and say, okay, we need a, community paper, to get it publicized as well. So I thank you guys for this opportunity so very much. And I would love to serve on the board with Romulus School Community. And I thank you so much for the opportunity, you guys.
Thank you
All
for
right.
coming.
Thank you, Deidre, very much. Thank you.
For sure. I'm gonna leave this on the chair for my lady, she's coming next. Okay. Oh, you're very welcome.
Ms. Jeremy, you can sit right
Okay, thank you.
And that's, the copy of the question for you.
Okay.
Yes, I hope so.
Oh, no, you mean checking, no, I just put the top number?
Oh, you're not checking?
No, I just have the, I will let these know. Yes.
I just sent you your email as well, Colleen.
Okay.
Hi. I'm sorry, I'm sending all the email. I sent the welcome policy as well, so you know. I put both of you. Okay. Hi, Ms. Bierman, how are you tonight?
I'm well, thank you.
Thank you for your interest in serving as a member of the Romulus Community Schools Board of Education.
Yes.
So we, all board members, will ask you questions tonight. We'll go around and you'll just answer. And as you know, I'm Debbie. I'm Debbie Piles, and each of our board members will introduce themselves before
Okay.
they ask the question.
Yes, for sure.
Okay?
Okay, thank you.
So to start off, tell us a little bit about yourself and share why you are interested in serving as a member of the Romulus Community Schools Board of Education and how you are qualified. And please include what equity means to you and how it looks in schools providing high-quality instruction for all students.
Okay. Once again, good evening. As you know, my name is Nicole German. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to share my education and experience with you. Well, how do I start? I am a resident of Romulus, 14 years. I live with my family, love the community. I'm also a lifelong learner. I have a bachelor's in family and community service, a master's in elementary education, and a master's in educational leadership. I've spent 20 years of my career as a teacher as well as a school leader. I'm currently in my 8th year as a school principal. Love every minute of it. I am a principal in River Rouge School District. At Ann Visker Preparatory Academy, I have 600 wonderful students. The reason why I want to be a part of the board is because as I started my career in education, I had a platform where I worked with 30 students and absolutely loved the impact that I made with those 30 students. But then I knew that I wanted to broaden my experience, and so I went into ed leadership. And so with that, I was able to broaden my experience and impact with over 600 students. And now as a board member, I know the impact is even greater. There's no hidden agenda. There's no political gain in this. My passion is for our children. And so that's why I had applied for the position of board for Romulus Community Schools. What I can say about education and equity is I believe that all students, no matter what the demographics are, they should be able to have an opportunity to be successful in their learning. And so with equity, I just feel like we have to fill in the gaps. We have to make sure that, each learner has what they need in order to be successful. And so that's why I'm here today, and I thank you so much for allowing me. I know it's late. It's past my bedtime, honestly. But to be honest, I'm here because I am very passionate about what I do. I did speak to my superintendent, and he said, you know what, if that's what you want to do, if you want an extra job, then go for it. And for me, it's not a job. When you love something so much, it's not a job. It's really about what you do. So when I go to work, I'm not thinking of it as being a job. I'm thinking about this is what I do, And so it's the same. Coming into Romulus Community School as the next board member, I would carry that with me as well. I just believe that the work is so impactful. The students need us tremendously, and that's why I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. Hi.
What is the role of the Board of Education, and what is the role of an individual member?
So I believe, as a board member, I believe the role is to ensure that students are successful in their education. I believe that the district, the school district, is the heartbeat of any community. And so that means that you have some like-minded people who are very focused on the district's mission, which I know is to provide innovative learning opportunities for all students. And I think that that is the guiding work that you all do as a board, focusing on budgets, policies, making sure that, issues are addressed, the community is heard. And I think that that is what creates a board, is having like-minded people coming together for the betterment of the school, the district as a whole. What is the role of an individual member? I believe the role of an individual member is to be a team member, a team player. They have to have a collaborative attitude. They have to be an advocate for students and families. I don't see, and I know that, you read about school boards and the focus is always on student achievement. And I have to disagree, because I'm one that believes that we must focus on the whole child. So with that comes, being supportive and understanding about the student's well-being and the family's well-being. Because without the family or the parents, you won't have a well-equipped, ready-to-learn student coming into your doors. So I think that a job of the school board and a member of a school board is being an advocate, being able to listen and have a collaborative attitude, and be able to work together as a team to make a difference for the district.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Hi, Ms. Drummond, I'm Teresa Beard.
Yes.
And I have your third question.
Okay.
What do you see as opportunities and challenges in the district?
So the opportunities, so I believe that there's opportunities in crisis. And of course, we're definitely in a crisis with the pandemic, but I do believe before the pandemic, there was a crisis as well. I think about the students and the traumas that they face. I think about the pandemic and how it's impacted families in the worst way, whether it's the loss of a job, the loss of a loved one, or just not being able to come in and fully be educated like they should. And so I believe that that's the challenge. But like I said, there's opportunities in that. And so I believe that the district has the opportunity to shore up those gaps, be able to have real deep conversations about what will education look like when students are able to return face-to-face. I do understand, I read that the district is going back to virtual. And I totally understand that. Today we only had 130 students in our district, well, in my school, and that was very alarming. But I do believe that as a district, you have the opportunity to revolutionize education. I do believe that, virtual platforms is going to be something that's going to be able to stay because of the fact that, parents are going to be fearful still in regards to bringing their children back face-to-face. So what do you do with that? You create opportunities for them to still learn, to still have a great quality education. And so I believe in that. And then in regards to the challenges is, that you're going to have to address students' well-being. No true learning can occur without addressing the non-instructional needs of our students. And so you're going to have to focus on that. But then once you do focus on the non-instructional needs, you're going to have to shore up the gaps of academics. I know for a fact that students are not going to be where they were before this pandemic. So what do we do with that? What type of interventions, what type of strategies will we have in place to support our babies so that they can get back to where they were before the pandemic?
Thank you.
No.
Hello, Ms. German. I am Ursula Wester. Number 4.
Yes.
Please share your opinion of Romulus Community Schools.
Well, I've always loved Romulus. I've had many opportunities to apply for positions in which I did, and also come in for interviews, which I had to decline. And the reason being is because I knew that my work was not finished where I'm at. And so I could not leave that space, not complete before I was to transition into something else. But I've always had reached out to the previous superintendents, Dr. Daniels. I remember speaking out to, seeking, acceptance from McAnally, was it her? Okay, and I did always say, I'm a community member. And so if you need anything, I'm very open to assisting or supporting where needed. I visited some of your board meetings where I know the interim superintendent did a wonderful job during the pandemic. And just saying that I'm available as a community member to support. And so I believe that that's important. But Romulus has a phenomenal basketball team, had it when my son was attending school, and we've always watched with, just awe because they were so great. But I just love the community feel. Every time I went to go to vote, I would go to Hell Creek and be in awe of the decorations in the building, the praise and the celebration of the students that were recognized throughout the hallways. It's always been somewhere where I felt like it would be a safe environment. So that's how I feel about Romulus. It's always been positive.
Thank you.
Good evening, Denise Bell.
Hi.
I have question 5.
Okay.
Working effectively with other school board members and the superintendent requires skill and communication and decision-making. How do you see yourself working with other members of the leadership team? And the second part of the question is, what is your vision for education in this community?
Okay. Well, I definitely see myself working in unity with the board members. I think that we all would play a beautiful part in making a wonderful district. I do know that it's already there. I do know that you all do a wonderful job of working together. But I do support Dr. Edmondson in regards to, his vision for what he wants the district to be. I do feel like my education and experience will complement the mission and district's vision and mission. I also believe that, I will work with the board as well as the superintendent with the initiatives and goals that are outlined. Very similar to our districts, me being a principal, what I go through every day, that is something that is in alignment with what my beliefs are, is student achievement. It also is, the well-being of our students, so their health aspects. I do believe that we have to focus on the fiscal responsibilities and making sure that we meet budget requirements and the college and career readiness and different things like that. So I'm definitely in alignment, and I definitely will be collaborative. I do have a collaborative attitude. I would definitely be collaborative. I do believe that we have to compromise. We're not going to always agree. However, I believe that we're all adults, and I do believe that, whatever the majority says for me is what I go with. I'm not going to, be disgruntled because of that. But when you said that, what is your vision for education in the community, is what everybody's vision is, and that is to ensure that the success of our students, well-being and academics, and I always put well-being first, because we have to make sure that they're healthy so that they can be able to achieve academically.
Hi, my name is Judy Kennard, and this is question number 6.
Okay.
In your view, what has the district done well over the last 5 years? And what has the district done poorly that you would change?
So when I think about what has the district done well over the last 5 years, I believe that, the district is community oriented. I see that. I've always watched that. You have some phenomenal principals, school leaders that are in place. I've always watched the growth of Barth Elementary and Romulus Middle School, and how, the pictures and the different things that are taking place at the school, so you see a sense of community. I also know that the district has aggressively searched for a superintendent. And that's always, it's always uncomfortable to do, because you don't want to make those changes in the midst of a school year, in the middle of a school year. But some of those changes are necessary in order for us to continue to further that vision and the mission. So I believe that over the 5 years, I believe that you all have always been, grounded in the sense of community. I also know that with the district, I believe that you strive for excellence no matter what. And so I think that is important. What has the district done poorly that you would change? And so I'm lost with that, because I'm not exactly sure of the those things that are done poorly, because you have to be present in order to really understand deeply what that looks like. But what I can say is I remember, participating or attending, I should say, a board meeting, and one of the community members said that it has to be more, better communication. And so I would say that that's one of your goals already, that you want to make sure that communication is solid. And I think that you have that blueprint that's available that focuses on communication, having communication protocols and implementing it with fidelity. And I think that that's going to be important, especially if you're honoring what's in your district goals and initiatives.
Thank you. Describe your view of student success. What do you think are the most important skills for students to have when they graduate?
Describe student success. So for me, student success looks like, a whole child, looking at the whole child model, understanding that children are healthy when they enter our doors, making sure that we are meeting their needs. And when it comes to their success, it means that they're able to be exposed to many different opportunities of learning, field experiences, and the data will show that. The data will show, improvement in all areas, whether it's attendance, whether it's academics, and whether it's just them doing the right thing behaviorally. And so student success has so many different components, but I look at the whole child model when I look at student success. Also, it says, what do you think are the most important skills for students to have when they graduate? I look at it as being able to be productive citizens. They may not have all the academic parts of it. And so I always encourage us as educators to not just look at, students attending college, because sometimes they're not interested in college, number one, or they may not have what they need or feel like they need so that they can be successful for college. So just being prepared for whatever they decide, whether it's career or, college ready. So having trades available to them, things that they can do outside of college is something that, I would think of when I think about student success and what they need to be prepared as they graduate.
Okay, question number 8.
Okay.
When voting on issues, will you maintain a strong focus on student outcomes? What factors should be considered when making decisions?
So when voting on issues, will you maintain a strong focus on student outcomes? So when voting on issues, I always look at our goals and objectives that we have in place. I think that when you have those goals and objectives that are outlined from the district as well as from the board, I think that we're on the right path for student outcomes to be, for students to be successful. So I will always look at whether or not it's focused on the right things. So is our issues something that is focused on our goals, or is it something that doesn't have anything to do with what we're guided by? And so I would vote on issues accordingly based on what it is that we're really supposed to focus on. I believe that we must uplift our purpose higher than our personalities. And so that means that we have to really focus on what our purpose is. And if our purpose is on our mission and vision statement or the goals and objectives that we have outlined, then let's focus on those as the real issues. What factors should be considered when making those decisions? I think I spoke about that when it comes to our the district's initiatives and the goals that are outlined, is focusing on those things.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, I have number 9 for you.
Okay.
How would you handle a situation where a parent contacted you as a board member to discuss a problem his or her child was having with a teacher or an administrator?
So I think it's important for, board members to, to listen to our community members, listen to our families, because that's important. We can show empathy and ask questions and problem solve, but I also think that it's important as board members to focus on letting Dr. Edmondson be the leader of the district by allowing him to address those situations, bringing it up to him and sharing those issues so that he can go through the problem-solving aspects of it. And I'm sure that Dr. Edmondson will definitely come back and share what the outcome was, and perhaps that may mean that we may follow up with the parent just to say, how are things going now? Have your issues been addressed?
Thank you.
Number 10, describe the relationship between the Board of Education and the superintendent. Include anything you know or believe to know about the roles and responsibilities of each.
So, so it's my knowledge, I've never been a board member before, but it is my knowledge that the board has one employee, and that is the superintendent. I believe that the relationship should always be professional, of course, but there is a level of accountability that the board must make sure that Dr. Edmondson, or the superintendent of schools, I should say, should understand that there's accountability measures that are in place, and that's why we do evaluations on a superintendent. But I think that it should always be professional. If we're all on the same team, we want what's best for the district. And so I think that that would be definitely important, to have a positive relationship with the board and superintendent. I know that in our district, as as a leadership team, we actually participate in board retreats with the board, as well as the school leaders, as well as the superintendent, and we come together, and have those moments where we're talking about the vision for the district, and that has worked tremendously well. But I just believe that as the board is focusing on policies and focusing on budgets, and making sure that the superintendent, Dr. Edmondson, have the necessary resources and supports so that he can run the district effectively. Thank you. Yes, no problem.
I have number 11.
Okay.
How do you view the relationship between the Board of Education with the administration, building principals, and teachers?
Okay, I think I kind of went off. I'm sorry. Well, I would say this. I believe that it should always be positive. Sometimes, we have accountability measures on our ends as it relates to, the administration, the building principals, and teachers, but I believe that the board should have positive relationships. They should not be punitive, and, spending time in the buildings and having conversations with administrators. It should all be community-driven, and I believe that that's what was one of the highlights of Romulus, is because I felt the community oriented feel when it comes to the district as a whole. But I just believe that the relationship should be positive. It shouldn't be, teachers, administrators, they shouldn't feel threatened because a board member is walking in the building. In fact, I believe that board members, when they do go in the building, they're only coming in to volunteer, support, do whatever they can to make it easy for, teachers and administrators. So I just think that it should just be a positive, collaborative approach when it comes to the relationships that are established.
Thank you.
No problem.
Question number 12. Can you make hard decisions even though it may not be popular? Give an example of a time that you had to compromise to achieve a greater cause. If you were faced with a tough issue as a board member, such as raising taxes, cutting staff, eliminating programs, what kind of data would you need to help you make your decision?
Okay. So I'm a turnaround principal. I've been identified as a turnaround principal. I've spoke at many MDE sessions, reform sessions, as well as had documentaries done on school culture and climate. And so with that, I'm able to make hard decisions. I have to, especially when you're labeled as a priority school and you want to get off that list. And so the most important thing for me is a time when I've had to make a tough decision. I do it in the best interest of my babies. And so that means that if a staff member is not providing quality instruction, and we've done and exhausted all that we could to provide them with the support, the training, the tools for them to be successful, and it doesn't work out, then I have to part ways with that staff member. Not to say that they're not going to land on their feet somewhere else. They just wouldn't be able to continue to teach the children that we serve. And so when it comes to making a tough decision as a board, I do believe that that's important. When you're making a decision, when it, and looking at the data, I'm looking at data that represents what we're trying to do. If it means that we have to cut programs because we lost some funding, whether it's through the federal or through the state or, locally, then that means that we have to look at what's working and what's not, what's giving us the most benefit of the impact for our student success and what's not, and we have to do away with it. And so would I be able to make tough decisions? I've made them over the course of the years. I have received many recognitions in regards to being a principal of the year and making those tough decisions because the impact is important for a district.
Ms. Kennard, would you mute, please? We're getting a lot of feedback. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Yep, no problem.
Number 13. Describe your understanding of the difference, if any, between governing the district and running it.
I think that it's pretty much the same. Describe your understanding of the difference, if any, between governing the district and running it. Well, I think that it's an alignment. The reason why I say that is because you're governing the district, that's us as a board, but running a district, I'm thinking that's Dr. Edmondson and his leadership team. And so I think that it's an alignment because we're all in the same team, and that means that in order for us to ensure that things are happening and policies are in place to make those things happen, then we have to work together. And so when I talk about alignment, I'm talking about us working collaboratively together to ensure that the district is governed and the buildings are running effectively throughout the district.
Okay, number 14.
Okay.
After review and discussion on significant issues, the board operates by a majority vote. When the majority vote is different from your position, how would you manage the situation?
I would manage it by facts. I would definitely know that if we're operating definitely by a majority, I'm not going to stand in the way of that. I'll definitely advocate for what I believe, but at the end of the day, I would not, be unprofessional about what matters to me. I believe that, we all have different views and different way things can operate, and sometimes it operates just fine, no matter how it's done. Sometimes it still operates just as effective. And so for me, I believe that I support the majority and won't, compromise my integrity or compromise the majority vote because of how I felt it should have went. I just believe that, we have great people on the board, and if the majority rules, that's how we will go.
Thank you.
Yes, no problem.
Okay. I have number 15 for you.
Okay.
Are you willing to participate in board certification classes through Michigan Association of School Boards and pursue the skills, knowledge, and training necessary to become a fully functioning and effective board member? And provide any examples of how you might accomplish this?
Absolutely. I do know the importance of participating in trainings. I know that at this time, I believe that a lot of the trainings are done virtually. And so I am prepared to do just that. I also know that I'm available on the weekends, so my weekends can be filled with the training that I need. When I say that I'm a lifelong learner, I mean, I'm definitely a lifelong learner. And I do know that as educators, you do go through training, and it's just a part of who we are. And so I do believe that I would definitely be on board with completing the necessary training to become board certified.
Number 16. At times, board members are caught between legitimately opposing points of view If there is a difference between your personal point of view and the policy or law that you're required to uphold as a trustee, how will you handle this?
I would handle it by following the law and the policy. I'm very, I would say that I'm a rule follower. You know, sometimes I'm definitely a risk taker, but I'm definitely a rule follower, and I won't compromise that, especially if it's a law or policy that's in place. You know, it's just something that, you know, you have to do. I understand the legalities of, you know, not upholding laws and policies that are in place. So definitely would be someone that is a rule follower.
Thank you.
Okay, number 17,
Yep.
board service requires quite a bit of time. How does your family view your potential involvement on the board, and how would it fit with your existing professional and personal commitments?
Well, I do know that I'm working when I'm not working. And I also know that my family is very supportive of the work that I do. If it was up to my son, I would be a sub in his, at his school. He's always asked me to come and sub. But in regards to my boys, they're all of age where they're actually adults, and I have one in the service and one that is a human resource coordinator for Washington Community College. They're very supportive of me. My husband he's a engineer. And he has the same type of responsibility, so I support him as he supports me. But when it comes to the professional commitments, so I've had a conversation with my superintendent, and just like I said, I'm very committed to River Rouge. But I did, before I had interviewed, I asked him, I said, would this be a conflict of interest? And of course, him being my mentor, he said, absolutely not. And he did say that, you know, if this is something that you want to do, go for it. And so that's what I did. I came to the interview right after speaking to him because I wanted to be transparent in my thoughts and my feelings about, you know, being a part of a board with Romulus Community Schools. So I don't think, and he asked me, he said, what day is the board meetings on? And it does not compromise the board meetings that I would attend on Wednesdays with him. And so I think we're all on board.
Number 18,
Yes.
the Board of Education has only one employee. Therefore, can you hold the superintendent accountable for student success and staff performance? How would you accomplish it?
I would definitely say 100%. I do believe that I would be able to participate with all of the board members in holding that one employee, Dr. Edmondson, accountable for student success and staff performance. I believe that it's important for us to have an evaluation process for Dr. Edmondson, understanding what is the initiatives and goals that he has in place for the year and holding him accountable for those. I think that it's all in fairness to have a vision for how you want the school to go, how you want the district to go. And so it's important for there to be some accountability measures in place.
Okay, final question.
Okay.
How can a board know if its goals are being accomplished and its policies carried out?
Okay. So I would say, how can a board know if its goals are being accomplished and its policy? Progress monitoring is something that I'm very familiar with, is something that I'm constantly, doing it at my school, is just progress monitoring. And that is having, conversations about our goals, maybe having data conversations with administrators on what their progress looks like. But you have to, what gets monitored gets done. Don't want to micromanage anyone, but I just think that it's important for us to have some monitoring measures in place to ensure that it's getting done.
Thank you. So those are all the questions that we have for you.
Okay.
Do you have any questions that you would like to ask the board?
Well, I would say, in regards to your quest to finding a board member, what are you all looking for in your search for the right fit being on the board?
If anybody wants to answer for me, I think as we go forward, looking for an individual who, as you could see these questions, a lot of them talked about the roles and the responsibilities and working as a team without overlapping those, and with understanding that our roles are in place for the greatest purpose, the student outcomes. So we are looking for somebody who understands that that is the role of a board member, and it's also the honor and privilege of a board member to be able to serve in that capacity. And then also just somebody who is a team player that, we can prioritize and I like what you said, our purpose over personalities. That's what we need, so we can move this district forward. And then if other board members have.
You said it well. Okay. And that's really it. I mean, I just appreciate the time that you afforded me to interview. I don't take this opportunity lightly, I promise you. But I am committed to the work of servicing kids. And I hope that if it's not me, that you find the right fit for this position, because it is something that brings people together and your district together. So I appreciate this opportunity.
Thank you for that, Ms. German.
Yeah,
Thank
no
you for your interest and for interviewing.
No
Thank you so
problem.
much.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night.
So we will tally, and if all the candidates can come back and we will tally, and we will give us a few minutes, and then we will make a decision tonight.
He's
Coop, you want to get the last person's sheets, because she didn't collect all our sheets for the last one.
Sure, it's up to you.
She's the last one.
Does Debbie still have?
She's got the one that she's got that third one that you gave her, and then she gave you back the first two to recheck.
Okay.
And then we gave you the
Okay,
fourth
so I
set.
have 3.
You have 3.
Okay.
Because Debbie, you have candidate number 3 over there, right?
You what?
Well, she gave you one, and you gave her the other 2 to recheck.
I'm sorry, you need a score sheet?
Yes,
No, I handed my score sheet in. I gave it to Cooper, right?
the ones that were already checked, baby, that she was rechecking.
Yes, right here.
You have the one, right, that's right. So we have one over here. She just had 3 sets over there. She was looking for the fourth set.
I think she took 2 last week.
She did the recount. She gave you candidate number 3, and you gave her 1 and 2 back to recount. Oh, I see what's going on.
Is that common core math?
It's that grandmother of 8.
Eyes never drop.
Uh-huh.
They go and shop for their kids and stuff, just keeps the parent and discipline.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I'm gonna sit here even, didn't I?
No, Ellen said he could, but if you want to do it, that's fine. You can't sign it, we have that notice.
Right, see, the board member, superintendent, unless they're.
Oh, that's weird. I wonder why.
They used to be able to, but they
I
can't
should let
anymore.
Ellen know that, yeah, because she goes, yeah, anybody can sign it.
Do yours? Oh,
I mean,
okay.
she can do both, but not sign it, right?
Okay.
Hey, Coop, you wanna go get the candidate to bring it back in?
I feel like missing it, you know, while people come down here. Well, you guys wait for me to come down here, actually. Okay.
For those joining us live on YouTube, we are bringing the candidates back in, and we will continue with the meeting as soon as they return, and we will be appointing the new board member.
So, President Piles, you're adding in the other two then? The other two?
I emailed them to you, did you, oh, you didn't add it in with it?
No, those are just 4 people.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, you guys have dinner for us? How wonderful. You got it?
You're telling a good story.
Oh, no, you're joking.
You're telling a good story. Bad girl.
Oh, goodness.
I'm glad you said that. I think I sent all.
I get to see what's going on, so we're waiting on.
So right now, Ms. Guzman is just doing the final tallies, and then she'll bring them back in. And for those of us watching, we should have our totals just in a few minutes.
They didn't bring us dinner back.
I can be focused.
Shh. Nobody needs to know all that, Dave Jones. I'm not retired yet. I have to go to work in the morning.
Me
We do too.
Let's make a deal.
You know I'm always there. I just need you on Saturday with me. I need you on Saturdays with me.
I'll come up there. Okay, something. I miss all that stuff. I miss it, because that's why when I left the flight, because you know, when I leave the flight, when David left, shortly after he left, and I mean, matter of fact, I got into high school, which was in '97.
What's it?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just said you need
It actually was a year.
I would be on the flight.
That's 20 years for me now.
Huh?
I got 20 years living over there.
I do too. I got that much.
21, 22.
I got that much into the high school for the concession.
Actually, 24 this year.
All that volunteer. But that's why, remember, I came back to the flight. And that's when I met Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been stuck with this big kid ever since.
Now you can come help us out with the progressive hall.
Huh?
You can come help us out with the progressive hall.
What you need? Give me a call. Hey, I come do what I can. I help out. These are the organizations we do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because what's bad about this stuff, you only get, out of all the people be around, that's your help. A handful. Just a few people gonna do all the work.
How long you think it counts? That's why this should have been done all first. Miss Jarman said it was past her bedtime.
I know, I'm sleeping with my eyes open.
I know. I gotta be at my school in the morning too.
And everybody gone.
Hmm?
I said, everybody's gone.
Sure will. It's too late to eat now. For us, if we gotta get up in the morning and be over, it's too late to eat and go to sleep.
I will go home, that was just 9:19. And at 4:30, my eyes gonna do this.
say, what are you all doing back there? The kids, okay? Mine just a ponytail. They gonna hear my stomach in a minute, so I turn this mic off.
Oh, you just go to the same place? Okay, got it. You know what you want? Okay, see, that's absolutely wonderful, little thing. Side hustle. I want you to be right.
Lisa, you been okay? Hanging in there. None of them?
No, we did, it just went to the, we didn't have to take it.
Okay, don't take one home and add up one sheet. Yeah, person.
That's what my daughter told me, that's what my daughter told me.
Okay, so we did the tallies, and we just wanted to double-check, make sure that we had our virtual members and everything was included. On behalf of the board, I want to thank every single one of you for your interest and for interviewing. And I'm always so excited by this, to see the genuine enthusiasm and the passion for this district and the students. And so every single one of you said something that I lifted, that has challenged me. So thank you for that. And so based on the scores, I move that the Board of Education appoint Nicole German to the vacant seat. Support?
Support.
Roll call, please.
Kennard,
Yes.
Terrell,
Yes.
Beard,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Wester is yes, and Piles,
Yes.
motion is approved.
And motion to adjourn. Support? Hang on a minute.
Piles,
Yes.
Terrell,
Yes.
Kennard,
Yes.
Beard,
Yes.
Evans. And Wester's yes. Motion.
Meeting adjourned at
9:24.
9:24. We want to give you, I have